Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and so is Survivor. What an early present this is. Who would have thought that Survivor 44 cast announcement would come in January? I don't think this has ever happened before, and if it has, it was because the season was premiering after the Super Bowl. We have 4 full weeks now to talk about these newbies from season 44, and Alexa and I are certainly going to do that. Before we jump into it, I know it's been a while since everybody's heard from us. We haven't been live doing a Survivor style show since the finale of season 43. The reason for that, we just weren't able to get any interviews. We hope to be able to do it for season 44. Who knows if we'll be able to. We did everything that we thought we were supposed to, and it just did not work out. There's nothing that we can do about it, and so we're just moving on. We will be seeing those 43 castaways at some point in the future on this podcast. Whenever that is, we do not know, but it's going to happen. And Alexa and I are going to keep doing the show that we want to do, and we're going to say what we want to say because we are making this for the fans. We're not making this for anybody else. We're making this for the fans. And we want you all to know that we are fans. Whether that means we're looked down upon by some, that's fine with me because we're doing what we want to be doing. We are fans creating content for fans, and we're about to kill season 44. We already have new things prepared. Alexa and I are going to be doing our normal recaps. We're going to be doing our normal power rankings, plan on getting a whole bunch of castaways for that stuff. And we're going to be having John and McKenna doing their own show now on this channel talking about Survivor coming out at some point throughout the week. It's going to be a very exciting season. We're very excited to get into it. So, Alexa, I know you've been waiting for this literally all day since I told you I was going to say this. But as Jeff Probst says way too infrequently, let's get it on. Okay.
Deeply infrequently, as that said. The only redaction that I would like to make on behalf of the Survivor specialists is we are going to kill season 44. We mean that from the perspective of we're going to put out a lot of good podcasts. And like Phil said, we are going to be here for a while. This is a really, really long preseason. And we're really excited about it. We have done our research. Well, I'm going to speak for myself. I was able to put in a little bit of research about the 44 cast today. It is extremely unclear if Phil was able to or not. Tune in about 10 minutes to see. But we already have a schedule set up. We have a really fun special guest coming up for the preseason, which is something that we never do. Peridium's going to be joining us later next month, later in February, just to talk through 44 and the new era as a whole. It's going to be really exciting to have him back on. But I'm really excited to talk about this cast. I don't want to dive too far into it, but I'm already seeing a lot of commonalities in their answers to some things, which is definitely going to be really interesting. But I'm pretty bummed to this cast. I don't know if we got the tribe divisions or not, like formally. But I did put the tribe
we have them.
The information that has been found on said internet. But while we're here, Phil and I don't believe in spoilers. If you've been listening to us for the past however many years we've been doing this, we don't like spoilers. Allegedly, the boot list of this cast is mildly spoiled. So we are probably not going to do a boot list this season. I wasn't sure if I should say that, but I'm saying it. That is up for debate. We might change it. We might not. But we are going to still do our prop bet game. We're still going to do our fantasy game where Vaughn kicks our butts and we kick Robert's butt and I end up somewhere in the middle. So yeah, I may have almost done a Phil length monologue, but yes, Phil, let's get it on.
And I hope, as everybody understands, for whoever's been listening to us for a long time, I hope you understand that is the longest I will let Alexa talk in one go ever.
I didn't even know what to say. I was like, maybe I should announce something just to fill the space. I'm not used to having this much airtime.
So a lot has happened since we last did this podcast, but obviously the Damar Hamlin situation happened. And then like the next morning on whatever the show with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp is, they were on, and Shannon Sharp started doing his monologue and Skip Bayless interrupted him, and it turned into like the biggest fight. It was so uncomfortable, and it just makes me laugh.
Fight.
Oh, it was legit. It was like a legitimate one.
I can't watch that show, so I
personally think Shannon Sharp's a little soft, but it just made me laugh because as I was watching this, and I'm kind of like Skip Bayless, where I just interrupt Alexa when she tries to talk. Now, you do a very good job of keeping inside that you're frustrated, but you can tell me to F off as much as you want this season because
I've learned how to deeply internalize. But who was the person that we were at a finale once and someone was like, Phil shushed you, and I've never heard you get so mad. And I was like, I felt so bad about it.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm going to speak a little bit longer. Phil says that he's going to the New York City finale party. That will make 2 of us. I thought typically they do a New York City premiere party, but they're going to Canada because, spoiler, there's a Canadian back on this season, so they're probably going to win. So they should probably have that premiere party there. But Phil and I are both going to make sure that we attend that. So if you are in the New York City area in 3.5 months, shoot us a DM and maybe we'll meet you. Maybe we won't. But yeah, if the stars align and we are in other cities where Bryce and Wendell are having their parties, you can expect to see us there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to throw out there too. So if you're a 44 castaway and you're frustrated because you're like, man, if I'm not gonna be able to go on an interview with these guys after the season, why would I listen to them? If Alexa and I are showing up at the 44 finale party, we're expecting you to know who we are. You know what I mean? Like I have that type of clout now where I'm like, you better know who I am. But all seriousness
For those
aside,
listening at home, my eyes rolled out of my face.
oh yeah, every single person from 44 was just like, well, we stand Alexa and Phil can go screw. But I'm very excited for this. Bryce and Wendell have been putting on the shows and they've been keeping this fun because I will say this offseason wasn't fun. And I'm glad it was a short offseason, but there was a lot of frustration. And obviously I was very happy that Rob was able to get at least some sort of interview going because these castaways wanted to talk and they were out there and they went to Rob and it was great. And so I'm glad that they were able to get out there. And I'm glad that Bryce and Wendell, for all of the things that have been going negatively with the show in terms of no live reunion and things like that anymore, I'm glad Bryce and Wendell are keeping this alive because at the end of the day, anything that is entertainment is supposed to be fun. Even if you're sitting there crying your eyes out like everybody did with The Last of Us episode 3, which if you haven't watched that, I'm not spoiling
I gotta
it.
watch
Jesus,
that show.
Right? But even if you're crying your eyes out, you're still enjoying watching it. And Survivor is meant to be fun. It's meant to be a really cool experience for everybody involved. And Bryce and Wendell are really keeping that alive with doing these parties. So I'm really excited. I haven't been to one because pretty much COVID hit and then I just vanished to South Florida where nobody in the world comes. But I plan on going to the finale party in New York. And yeah, Bryce and Wendell, keep doing what you're doing because it is much appreciated.
Yeah, they've been a ton of fun. So Phil, what do you know about this cast? Are you Googling them rapidly as we speak? Do you have notes? Talk to me.
All right, so here's my deal. I have my winner pick already based on just what I saw. So I saw that CBS actually put out the tease already, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That normally comes out like the Monday before the episode or something. We're a full month out. We already have the tease.
There were some ads during the championship games this weekend.
Yeah.
And they were like, we dare you to watch.
But they did they did like the first 3 minutes of Survivor or whatever. Like they're standing on the mat.
Oh, yeah, that's already,
out.
Not watched that yet, but
see,
I know it's out.
So I watched that and I looked at these pictures of these, beautiful people. And I watched that. And my winner pick is going to be Matt Blankenship because he is so much taller than I thought he was going to be. And that is my sole reason. This guy's huge. Like he's got to be like 6'5" or something. And it was just so unexpected because it also made me laugh that he's actually so tall. They have him sitting in the cast photo. Because I think it would have been weird to have him be so much taller than everybody else. But anyway, at least that's how he looks on his tribe, which maybe I'm exaggerating how tall he is, but it really threw me for a loop. Maybe the Soka tribe is just really, really a bunch of short people. But Matt Blankenship's going to be my winner pick. And it's not the barber. It's the other Matt. It's Matt, not Matthew. So that'll be super fun to dissect all season.
I do feel like I'm watching a season of The Bachelor because it's like Hannah L and Hannah F and Hannah. We got a Matt and a Matthew, but I wonder if one of them actually goes by the other, but they were like, we can't have 2 Matthews. Like you are hereby Matt.
Yeah. I mean, they could have just come up with cool nicknames like Lil Kim, like they did back with Kim Powers. I mean, that could have, but whatever.
Is he the one with the curly hair and the glasses?
He is the one with the curly hair and the glasses.
Sitting down, he doesn't look like.
That's why I was surprised. He's huge. So I was like, all right, he's my winner pick. Or everybody on his tribe is Romeo and Zach. Like it's one or the other. It's one or the other. And I don't know which it is, but that's going to be my winner pick on the season. And that should tell you how much research I've done into this cast because that's who I'm picking as my winner. And that's the reason why.
How was the video? How was the first 3 minutes of the season?
Was what it was. Yam Yam was talking. He's going to be the voice of the season, no matter how long he lasts.
Correct.
Franny is doing her best Kellen Bechtold impersonation. So that'll be fun. And then Matt kind of looks like the guy from what's that that weed show that was on HBO? The guy
Weeds?
who sells. No. The guy who sells it's the comedy where the guy sells the weed. High something.
High Maintenance.
High Maintenance. Thank you. Yeah, he looks just like the guy from High Maintenance. So
that's so funny.
Yeah, so those were the three people who talked during that.
Well, that's a big sign. Except sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not. It's just who Jeff was asking and who was answering, and it wasn't anything too crazy. But that's pretty much what I got from that. I mean, Brandon Cotton is still a really big guy. He could still beat up pretty much anybody if he wanted to. So that's good. I like that tribe's chances with him on the tribe.
See, it's funny because I'm looking at this cast photo. He is standing and he is like a head taller than anybody else.
He's huge. And I haven't seen him next to Matt yet. But if Matt is taller than an NFL fullback, so there's a difference between a running back and a fullback, right? Running backs are all like 5'9", but like a fullback has to be kind of a bigger guy. If he's taller than him, I'm impressed. So that's what
I wonder if people are gonna. I don't know if we should go right into one of them, but just looking at this photo, I would actually not immediately assume that this person was an NFL player.
I think
he looks like a big, strong guy, but I don't know.
It's because like if you're a running back, fullback, something like that, you just have the big neck, right?
Yeah.
It's a running back because their neck is
only work out
like
your
as
neck.
wide as their shoulders. So, running backs are a little, they can blend in. They can blend in. Yeah. Especially in today's day and age where everybody just works out way too much. Although I will say, and I mean this as a compliment to this cast, it doesn't look like this is one of those casts that just pointlessly hits the gym, which I'm a big fan of because I've never pointlessly hit the gym in my life. And,
only with a purpose.
For as much as Brennan Shapiro is great and all of that, you don't need to keep making us feel bad when you're in your mid-40s there, Brendan. All right. You can just not hit the gym pointlessly. Go eat some carbs. It's not that bad.
As Phil and I plummet towards our 30s / one of us may already have
I plummeted past my 30s. Yeah.
As I am inches away from my 30s, I am reminded that I should probably start pointlessly hitting the gym more often.
Yes. It's not worth it.
That's neither here nor there.
It's a scam. But yes, so the one thing I noticed about this cast, there's no teenagers on this cast.
No, we have close to a teenager.
Yeah, the youngest is 20, which is Carson Garrett. There are a bunch of people in their 20s and 30s, which is like what you've come to expect from Survivor. But most of the people in their 20s are 25 or older. There's only 2 people on this cast younger than 25, or and that's 23-year-old Franny and 20-year-old Carson. Everybody else is 25 or older, which is interesting because it seemed like they were going the opposite way with that over these last couple seasons. It's not that everybody was getting older or anything like that, or that they were just casting a bunch of Julia Sokolowskis, but it felt like we were getting a lot of teenagers, or like, I think Marianne was 21 or something like that. Like they were casting a lot of like early 20s, late teens. I like that. This cast looks different than the recent casts. And I think that's going to be a good thing when you're talking now. Survivor doesn't have a country attached to it or like a gimmick attached to it, like Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. Instead, it's just a number. So how are you going to separate the numbers, right? I think you have to be able to differentiate the casts. And this cast seems like it is kind of differentiating itself. So that's good. Just from looking at them, because that's really all I have to go on.
That is all we have to go on, because I went off of the parade cast reveal, so I just have like their kind of quick questions and answers from there. I know as we do more podcasts and as we get closer to the beginning of the season, we'll have more articles come out, but no better way to kick off a cast assessment by just making blanket assumptions based on 3 answers that they gave.
I love blanket assumptions, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't even read those. And if you think about it, this is how pointless these things are. And I mean, we all have fun with it, right? But this is how pointless these things are.
Pointless. As Phil texted me last night, drop everything you're doing too.
Drop everything you're doing. Yeah. Mike Gabler responded yes to why he would become the ultimate survivor, and he won Survivor.
Let me tell you, yes.
Like, you really can't read into these things too much. Although I will say there is one castaway who, when we're doing the fantasy draft and everything like that, I am not touching with a 1 million foot pole. And I mean that with respect to the person they compared themselves. with respect to the person they compared themselves to, because we quite like this person, but there is no way you can walk out on the season 44 and say, I am mostly like this person, and expect people to sit there and pick you to win the game of Survivor. So
can't wait to get to that person.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. But
how do we do this?
Let's start off with the Orange Tribe. And I'll go through who they are so we can kind of bounce around. I'm on EW right now, although I too like to support Mike Bloom because Mike Bloom does great work. But I am on EW because they have the more easily accessible feature, which is a weird thing to say about EW because EW's website is just like, here's an ad and don't click anything else except this ad. But I'm looking at, they have the view all, so I can kind of bounce around between all 19 castaways without having to scroll one at a time, and that just drives me insane. So we're going to start with the Orange Tribe because orange is the cursed color on Survivor, right? So like that's just where we kind of have to go with this. And that is where we're going to start. And that is the tribe that has Brandon Cottom. So this is the ex-NFL player who used to play for the Seattle Seahawks. Boo. Nobody likes the Seahawks. He's from Newton, Pennsylvania, still lives in Newton, Pennsylvania. Now he says he's a security specialist. I don't know if that just means he's a bouncer at a bar and beats people up because his biceps are so big, or if he actually is like something else with security specialist. But here he is. This is our first guy.
Yeah, sure is our first guy. He compared himself to Danny, and I feel like just based on his answers, I do get that. Very even keeled, like I'm saying gentle giant because this guy's like taller than literally everybody. I did note, quote, not a survivalist. So always a minor red flag, but at the same time, I think like 2% of the people who go on Survivor would identify themselves as survivalists, one of which just won last season. Yeah. So there aren't a lot. I think he's obviously going to be really helpful in challenges. I am trying to figure out who is going to be the person to figure out that he was a member of the Seattle Seahawks. There is like, I don't think there's anyone even from like the Pacific Northwest on this season. I'm curious if that was purposeful or not. Because as football fans, like I didn't know who he was, and I'm not sure if you did, Phil, but I don't think he's like immediately recognizable. And I also think we're kind of past the point in Survivor where he'll be like, oh yeah, I played in the NFL, and people will be like, sick, and not immediately try to get rid of him.
I completely agree. I'd heard of Brandon Cottom, but I hadn't really he's not somebody you're picking in fantasy football. So how much do you pay attention to him? And then he's an offensive player who you're not picking in fantasy football. So that's always a tough place to be in because defenders will always get kind of the recognition and everything. But I think we're at this point now where there's a TikTok star on this season, right? Or somebody who does have a TikTok following, even if they're not a TikTok, like that's not what their job is listed as. But at this point, anybody can have fame and money. And I don't think Survivor is really so much about who needs the money. I think that has gone out the door. And I don't think it's about, oh, we play this sport or we do this thing or any of that stuff. I really think that it's just, nobody cares about that anymore. And if you look at Brandon and you say, okay, we got to vote him out because he played in the NFL, why? Like we've never seen an NFL player win the show, and there's been a whole bunch of them who've played. So why would you want to vote him out? I don't think that would make any sense. So he's 30 years old, he's actually one of the younger people on that tribe because there's a 31, 35, and 43-year-old. But I feel like, on these small tribes, we've said it time and time again, you can vote differently than you would vote in the older seasons. But you have to keep the strongest person on your team, at least for the first couple votes, no matter how obnoxious they are. You don't have a choice because if you get rid of them, now that they've evened out the tribes more ever since War Dog with his throwing, that has changed up what you can really do. You can't vote out Brandon early. So I don't think an NFL player, I don't know if they'll ever win Survivor, but I think Brandon, I think he'll have an okay time on Survivor. And if he has anything like the personality of Danny, he's going to go very far.
Yeah, then we'll definitely love him.
Yeah.
So other random fact, I hope he does a magic trick. He specifically mentioned that. I could not have assumed anything less of him. So hope he does that. And one of my themes of this, I'm sounding very Phil in what I'm saying. One of the themes that I've noticed from this cast is in the question, what do you want in an alliance partner? I am beaten over the head with I want loyalty. And obviously, who doesn't? But I just feel like in modern Survivor, I was pretty blown away by how many people said they want someone to just follow what they do, because nobody does that in modern Survivor. So he did mention that. So that's that. But he did say that he wanted a predictable partner, which I thought was a very astute observation, because everyone can say they want a loyal partner, but in actuality, you want to work with somebody who you can anticipate what they're going to do. No one is going to go to the end together, like hold hands and skip to the final two. That's just not going to happen anymore, and it hasn't happened for a really long time. So working with somebody who's predictable and knowing that that's what you want, I thought that was a very astute observation. So good on you, Brandon.
Yeah, I think that he probably I think that's going to change with season 45 after people watch Jesse play. This cast didn't watch Jesse play. So I do think that is going to be something that's going to change as we move forward with the show. But, now you can say loyalty, even though it's not going to happen. But nobody watched Jesse and what he did to his closest allies one after the other throughout the entire game.
Systematically,
just dumping them out. So, all right, that's Brandon. Next, we're going to get freezing damn cold, and we're going to go to Moose Jaw, Canada, because why wouldn't we go to Moose Jaw, Canada? This is in Saskatoon, which I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or not. This is Kane Fritzler, 25 years old. He's a law student. Says he's inclusive, loud, and competitive. Survivor is the best game you can get your hands on. I'm a gamer through and through. I've watched since I was a wee lad. That's how they speak in Saskatoon and Moose Jaw. And make no mistake, I am here to play. This one's going to be interesting, because if you look up where Moose Jaw, just look up real quick, Alexa, where Moose Jaw, Canada is on a map. And let's all have a really good time looking at this on a map.
You speak for 30 seconds while
I will. So
say no more.
This is really, really far away from things. We always I don't know why anybody who lives in America would go to North Dakota or Montana. There's a couple reasons. I've never been to either one, but I've been to South Dakota, and there's nothing in between Sioux Falls and Mount Rushmore. This guy's north of those states. So he's in the middle of really nowhere.
Wow.
I think that's
north.
Putting it kind of nicely, right? He's in the middle of nowhere. I am curious what else about him will make him fit in. Because we see these small town people all the time come out and fall on their faces. But last season, we saw Mike Gabler overcome what he needed to overcome, because he did have a history of being a surgeon, and with his military background, he was used to talking to a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, had to have good people skills to convince them, hey, come have open heart surgery, right? So John just said he's from Saskatchewan. There are more people on the cast than in the entire province, and that is our resident Canadian. So if he says it, it must be true. But he says he feels like he has the effortless charisma of a younger and more handsome Tyson, but he'd like to play a Zeke game with a few tweaks to bring home gold. Now, I understand that he is joking there, and I think that's great with the younger and more handsome Tyson, because Tyson's a Greek god. But I want to know what about him makes him have charisma with these other 17 strangers that he's about to walk into? Because he's not on the tribe with the New York City firefighter, but I want to see the New York City firefighter and the law student from Saskatchewan talk to each other.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been in a Wikipedia hole while you've been talking. So Moose Jaw has a population of 33,000 people, which is
that's pretty big.
Double the size of the town that I grew up in, but it's probably over a much larger span. What makes me, I feel like I'm going to really enjoy watching him. What makes me nervous is he is hot off law school straight into Survivor. We just saw a couple seasons ago someone lawyer their way out of the game. So that makes me a little nervous for him. And obviously, because he just went to law school, he has a lot of negotiation skills. I feel like people who talk about their negotiation skills make me very nervous, because on Survivor, if you talk about being good at something, you are automatically not good at said thing. I hope for his case that is not true, but I am really excited for the return of Canadian contestants. I hope he does his country justice. He might win just by default, honestly. But I think he's going to be super entertaining. I hope we get like a fish out of water kind of situation just because of where he's from. But to your point, yes, he's from somewhere very rural and somewhere that you and I have never heard of, but we also live in like the two most populous states in an extremely populated country. So I bet other people, like there's a couple people from Minnesota. I'm sure there are other people from like rural areas. So I don't think he's going to stick out the way that we think he will, but for my entertainment's sake, I really hope he does.
See, I was taught growing up in New Jersey and then living in Los Angeles and working in film that you just look down on anybody who doesn't live on a coast. Okay, Alexa. So I will never not look down on anybody who doesn't live on a coast. Okay.
You probably live closer to a coast than I do. Though I guess
all these
like
people
2 inches
who live
from
in
a
these,
river, but
these people who live in these filthy flyover states. I don't have time for them. Although I don't think I would ever fly over Saskatchewan, even if I was going to Alaska. So totally different lifestyle though. And no, like these are the things that make Survivor great, right? Like we just watched Mike Gabler win. And he's from Idaho and he's just weird goatee and everything like that. But he fit in and made it work the year after Marianne did what she did. So let's see if Kane is able to also do that. The last man on this tribe is the guy who I believe is going by Matthew. This is Matthew Grinstead Male, 43 from Pickerington, Ohio, currently lives in Columbus, Ohio. He is a barber shop owner. And who did he say? He says he identifies with Elaine the most because she was hilarious yet genuine. And he would like to think that he will play most like Shan or Ben. Everyone came to Shan and felt comfortable telling her info. Ben was someone who had baggage and learned to overcome it and help others along the way. So Shan, Ben, Elaine, that's an interesting trio there. What are you thinking about Matthew, not Matt?
I'm thinking that the town that Matthew lives in has 10,000 less people than Moose Jaw, Canada.
The thing is, though, he can drive to Columbus probably in 15 minutes, as opposed to the guy Moose Jaw. If you drive 3 hours in any direction, you're probably still closest to Moose Jaw.
Very good point. Matthew, when he said Elise, Shannon, Ben, I was like, huh. And then I read more into it. His reasons for wanting to play like Shannon, Ben, I think are really good reasons. Obviously, they're completely different, but people did really go to Shan and people really trusted her. And Ben is somebody who did overcome a lot to end up winning the game. So I think two great examples from there. With Matthew, all that I got from not all that I got, but the main theme that I got from his interview was he has a lot of heart. I think he's going to play with a lot of heart. There's a lot of talk about his family. He seems very outdoorsy. So here I am saying no one on Survivor's outdoorsy, and we just had a couple people back to back. I feel like people are really going to be drawn to him. I think he has, based on this photo, has great energy. I think he's going to play with a lot of heart.
I think he's going to play with a lot of heart. I do worry that he's going to be a little too high energy. He was one of the people who spoke in the early portion of this, and he was, he gave the typical answer of like, I just want to know what's going on. And like, of course, that's why CBS takes it, because it's like, ooh, like he's so excited he can't even think of the word.
Yeah.
It's like,
I always feel bad. Like at the beginning is always so like awkward. It's like, I'm so excited, but I have no idea what to say, but I also need to be on TV. Like it's tough. I'm sure
it is.
Because you see people get more comfortable doing confessionals like as the season goes on.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I don't know I don't know what's going to end up happening with Matthew. Again, being on that tribe where I don't think you're going to vote Brandon out as one of your first people. If you lose, I think, Matthew could be somebody that they look to, but I'm just going to start talking negatively about everybody on the cast. That's my goal for season 44, right? We're giving the fans what they want. Yeah. Based on how 43 ended.
You be the bad cop. You be the bad cop. I'll be the good cop.
That sounds good. Okay. Let's move on to the women on this tribe. And we're going to start off with Jamie Lynn Ruiz, who's 35 from Mesa, Arizona. She is a yogi, not to be confused with the bear, right? 3 words to describe you: enthusiastic, magnetic, and loving. She is a day one Survivor fan. Thanks to her VHS recorder, she never missed an episode. Now, Alexa and I,
VHS.
Yeah, Alexa and I are actually going to do 4 hours of Patreon content discussing what a VHS recorder is, so that all of you who are under the age of 25 can understand what we're talking about. There used to be this thing called a rewinder, that if you put it in the rewinder, it rewound the VHS faster than if you just kept it in the VCR. So anyway.
One of the worst moments of my life was watching Star Wars Episode 5 and pulling it out, and all the tape came out, and I could never watch it again.
And you can never get it back in. You know what would always be aggravating is when you would tape something, but you would accidentally tape over something else. So you'd be watching like the first part of something, and then all of a sudden, like you'd be getting to like the hour and a half mark of a movie, and all of a sudden it would be like, here's the Seinfeld score, like, and it was like, wait, that's not. And now you have forever not seen the last half hour of that because all these things didn't exist. You'd have to get in the car and go to Blockbuster, and that was a nightmare because that was so far away. And why did we ever have to leave our couch? But anyway. So Jamie Lynn Reese, who is clearly now my first boot because of the negative emotions I am feeling because of her VHS recorder. Now I'm just thinking about Borat saying VCR recorded. She relates to Angelina. She is bold and brilliant. She thinks she will play most like Erica. She played such a high level game. Her social skills and strategic relationship building were amazing. So she is saying Angelina and Erica. Now, I'm just going to say this right now. That's not possible. So, Alexa,
what don't they have in common, Phil?
Explain to me how this is possible.
I do like. I feel like we're finally getting. People are saying they want to play like Erica and like justice for Erica on that. Janine, I get a lot of energy from, but also as a yogi. So, as somebody who doesn't know the first thing about yoga, at first I found that conflicting, but I also find that very exciting. She references like leaving corporate America. I don't know. She might be the TikTok person.
I think she
I
is.
say that sentence as someone who doesn't know what TikTok is. That's why I sounded so old when I said that. She wants a ride or die. She has a lot of hobbies. Like there's a lot here. But at the same time, when talking about like Survivor specifically, the answers felt a little generic, which is obviously going to be the case, just like the way that they're asked questions. I think we're going to get a lot of energy. I can't really figure out like how she's going to play. She's talking a lot about relationships and wanting a ride or die. All very good things. But I kind of felt like they were more just being said. Perhaps I will go on her TikTok and get more answers.
Yeah, I wonder, like, is she going on to this? So she says she's a huge Survivor super fan.
She referenced a VCR, so I do believe she's a Survivor super fan.
I feel that, but I do
know
wonder
where your head's going, and I hope and think that's not the case.
How much does she want to be on this show just to continue building like her TikTok following? And now she's the so a yogi explain to us.
People had TikToks. Oh, but a yogi's not a yoga instructor, or is it?
What is a yogi? So that's what I want to know. What is a yogi? Because is that a yoga instructor, and we no longer call it a yoga instructor, and Vetus is out of a job, or is it a yoga? Like, is a yogi something different? Because a yogi to me feels like somebody who just loves yoga.
One who is adept in yoga. It seems like you practice yoga, you do yoga. I don't think you are you probably could be an instructor, but I think if you were a yoga instructor, it would be said that you were a yoga.
Now, does she know Coach Chi? That's the important one. Because if she doesn't, then she's not a yogi.
That's the bar.
I think Jamie could do very well, though. I feel like Jamie is going to be a big personality, whether to her benefit or detriment, but she's going to be somebody that we remember on our TV for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's move on. Next, we are going, and I have to actually find this person because now I wasn't prepared. We're going to Lauren Harp, 31 years old from Port Arthur, Texas, currently lives in Mont Bellevue, Texas, is an elementary school teacher. She's personable, resistant, adaptable. Survivor is not only the experience of a lifetime, but an opportunity for self-growth and discovery. That's always fun. She wants to be a quiet strategist. She thinks her gameplay will most likely resemble that of Erica, but also love the way that Natalie played in Blood versus Water and Winners at War. I love being the first person voted out of a game. I too think that's great. Her strength and ability to never give up is most admirable. Okay, so I am not a fan of how much people are saying they want to play like Erica, because I don't think people are understanding what made Erica great. People knew Erica was a threat in the pre-merge, and they were trying to vote her out of the game. We just didn't know that because the edit didn't show us anything. I don't think Erica was as under the radar to the castaways as the TV show made it seem. So I think all these people who want to play like Erica want to play this low under the radar game, which Erica realistically wasn't playing. Two people on her tribe were trying to throw a challenge to get her out of the game. She still played an under the radar game, but I don't think as subtle as everybody is like making it seem like she was irrelevant on that season. Because I think Erica was much more relevant to the castaways than we all are aware of. Sorry, I'm doing that to you, Lauren, because I'm not meaning to knock you. I'm just more saying this in general of Erica's name has come up a bunch now, and I don't feel like that was the case with season 43. So I just think that's interesting, and it's like you was looking for love in all the wrong places here. Like it makes sense, but you're not in the right bar.
Phil fell in love in a bar.
Yes.
But yes. That's a fair point. But I'm looking at her 3 words to describe you: personable, resistant, adaptable. I really like all those. Those give me Erica energy. Like Erica definitely adapted. But I get where you're coming from on that, but that is no fault of the players. That is no fault of anyone's. That is no fault of Erica's. We saw what we saw. Important to note that Mont Belvieu, Texas only has a population of 7,000 people. So once again, smaller than Moose Jaw, Canada. I will continue doing this until
I love that you're doing this, because it is true. Like Moose Jaw might have a bigger population, but again, like how close is Mont Belvieu to like a city with 1 million people? Probably.
She's fairly close to Houston. Not close to Houston, probably like an hour outside of Houston.
Okay.
But yes, this is not stopping.
This man, Kane, is like 5 hours outside of Fargo, and Fargo has a population of like 90,000. So I guess that's more of my point. It's the isolation, right? Hey, everybody, I grew up in a town of 25,000, but you didn't even know where the divider was to go into the next town of 25,000. You just were there all of a sudden. It was a different town and different school district. So, yeah, I think Lauren has some potential, though. I think she's a mother, right? Am I wrong? Becoming a single parent has prepared me most for the game. That in itself has challenged me physically, mentally, emotionally, and basically in every single way possible. I think that's a big positive for her going into the game. That's definitely overcoming some adversity that other players aren't going to have to do. So, yeah, I think that's beneficial.
Yeah, I think, she's like very purposeful. Clearly loves her children, but not enough to not trash them and say that she's better at them than Mario Kart. So I really appreciate when you know you're good at Mario Kart. I really appreciate saying that. So good for you, Lauren. Also a teacher. Teaching time with Lauren, perhaps. That very well could be the reason that she wins. Just saying. I like her. Says that she wants loyalty that is shown. I think that is also a very good answer among the many loyalty answers. Anyone can say that they're going to vote for you, but you got to prove it and you got to show it. And I think that was a very good answer there.
Yeah. All right. So that's Lauren. Man, we're almost 40 minutes in and we are about to hit our 6th person.
We got to make moves.
Alexa, I hope you set up a tent inside your there right there, because you're going to be streaming all night. Final person from the Orange Tribe, final cursed player because they are on the Orange Tribe, is Maddie Pomia, 28, from Huntington, Maryland, currently lives in Brooklyn, New York, is a charity projects manager, brave, friendly, and feral. That's an interesting word to describe yourself.
It sounds like someone who lives in Brooklyn, and I say that as somebody currently living in Brooklyn. So Maddie,
yes, she gets a kick out of doing things that scare her or that feel impossible or that she dreamed of doing as a kid. Survivor checks all of those boxes. And she strategically would be like Suri or Omer, swag wise, probably Malcolm. And that makes me laugh. Maddie, if your photo says anything, I'm very excited to see how your swag wise is going to be like Malcolm, because Malcolm had his flowing, man bun, and he was Dartmouth and all of that. So I'm very excited to see whether Maddie is being sincere in that or if she's being very, very sarcastic. Part of me thinks she's very, 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 very sarcastic, but I don't want to assume that in case I'm about to break her heart right here on national podcast.
On said national podcast with 46 active viewers. I hope she's being sarcastic because I find that hilarious. And she is my winner pick for her answer of, I have to directly read this answer because it actively made me cackle. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
So good.
I've done some cool things like trekking to Everest Base Camp, but the real best thing I've done is making the hottest guy from NYU date me for the past 7 years. It is criminal that we no longer have a family visit because the hottest guy at NYU must be on our television.
I know. And he's probably like a 6. Like that's the craziest part, right? So that's what gets me.
He's dating Malcolm. He better be hot.
I'm just saying, well, no, I'm just saying, look, you go to certain colleges, it's NYU, right?
Hey,
As
NYU
now
with some hotties.
I'm aware. A lot of my friends went to NYU, and I'm trying to take digs at them if they
sorry.
listen.
Let me delete that.
You bastards. But anyway, so yeah, I think Maddie is going to be a lot of fun. I do wonder how her personality comes across on TV, because this is generally a personality that doesn't really come on TV. We normally see like really, really funny people or like really, really serious people who aren't self-aware. It's rare to see people who are so funny and self-aware, and that's like their main personality trait. Because from all her answers, that is her main personality trait. That's not what we're seeing from a lot of even if they end up being hilarious and self-aware, that's not really what got them on the show. So I'm curious to see what got Maddie on.
Yeah, and sarcasm like doesn't hit as much on TV, I feel like, but I am very excited for her. I unironically have chosen her as my winner pick. So I know, spoiler for the end, but I really, really, really like her. Is it because she lives where I live? Possibly, but
she has long, I don't know, brownish black hair, and she's
we
like,
have a lot in common.
Probably about like 5'9", 5'10". I'm just throwing things out there.
just saying we may have some commonalities.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the streak is broken. Brooklyn, New York does have a higher population than Moose Jaw, Canada. Thank you all for participating.
That is shocking, Alexa. I am floored. How many people do live in Brooklyn, New York?
This neighborhood, I should actually look that up, but my neighborhood probably has exactly.
Yeah.
Brooklyn. And why?
Let's hear
all right. Anyways, you go while I do this. Most populous county in the city. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of people. I think like 2 or 3 million people live here.
Yeah.
But I really don't know. Anyways,
either way. So that's the whole Orange Tribe. What's your take on the Orange Tribe?
I'm really excited about the Orange Tribe. I can't really figure out who's going to vibe yet because I haven't even thought about it. But the next time we podcast, I will have an answer.
Yeah, you better. Otherwise, you're out. You're done. We're demoting you. You are no
demoted to intern.
Yeah, you're intern Alexa now. So, okay, we're going to go over to the Purple Tribe, and we're going to start off with a woman with an answer unlike anything else. And that's Carolyn Weiger. I wanted to call her Wiggler, but it's not Wiggler. From North St. Paul, Minnesota, 35 years old, currently lives in Hugo, Minnesota, is a drug counselor, passionate, a little bit loud and open. Which previous players do you identify with most? Who do you think you will play most like? I so badly want to be like, yeah, I'm going to be as strategic as Kelly Wentworth and cutthroat like Parvati. But that isn't happening because I am way more Nora. When we are doing the fantasy draft, you better believe I am not picking Carolyn Weiger. And I love Nora, but Nora was never, ever, ever going to win Survivor Season 39. And Carolyn, that scares me. Although you do have the self-awareness to know, but then my entire life I've been told that I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm too loud, too much. It has been my dream to play this game as myself, and Marianne is proof it can be done. I want to have fun like Tiffany, be lovable like Marianne, and free-spirited and spontaneous like Nora. Nora was great TV. Nora is like a great person. We got to have her on the podcast. It was super fun. But Nora wasn't going to win Survivor the season she went on. Now, maybe Carolyn can because we did see a Marianne win. But I just keep going back to like the same thing I said about Erica, where she wasn't as quiet and everything as everybody thought. Marianne wasn't as weird as everybody thought. I think Marianne's weirdness was played up a little bit by the edit. But Alexa, how do you feel about our second coming of Nora?
Yeah, I think, wow, that is so yeah, Marianne, I think, was like high energy and loud. Like, I think I agree with you. Except for, I guess, when she like swung a machete at people. I am fairly confident that Carolyn is the person who said she was going to eat a rock on TV, like during the preview. So I'm very excited, frankly, to watch her. I really appreciate that she is self-aware. Like, she knows that she's an 11 out of 10 on the personality scale. Yeah. And I think that's really cool. I also think her line of work and her story is something that really has been touched upon on Survivor. But unless I'm like incorrect, like, no, like it's been friends who have dealt with substance abuse issues or people, loved ones. I think it's really exciting. Exciting is really the wrong word. I think it will be really interesting that we are going to hear that directly from her perspective. And like the closest I can even think of is like watching Shane Powers go through cigarette withdrawal live on TV, like to hear what she has gone through and how she is paying that forward and being a counselor now, I think is going to be a really unique and really interesting story. And I think that's going to be really fascinating paired with a very over the top personality.
Yeah, and we've seen that a lot on like on Survivor, of these people who went through these kinds of things and how they feel and like how that comes across on the show. So I am interested to see how that will come across.
Yeah,
for
her story, like I know I'm interrupting you, but I know we're like, oh gosh, this is the sob story episode. I am looking forward to hearing what she says.
And for anybody who's wondering, that's Alexa's one interruption for the entire season. I'm allowed to interrupt you.
I'm canceled. I'm get kicked off this podcast yet again.
What is
I know,
that? 2023, new year, new you. I don't appreciate this.
I know. You never should have given me such a platform, but I don't know. We're excited. It's a new season. Once in a while, Phil and I have some saucy podcasts, and I think we're on one.
Yeah, I think we are. Also, for anybody who's like, wow, this is really good and I miss not hearing this in a month, go become patrons, patreon.com/Survivor Specialist, because Alexa and I were really saucy last month, and it's going to just get saucier and saucier, and McKenna and John are going to be doing a weekly podcast on Patreon too, so like it's going to be a great season for that thing. So become patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. Also subscribe on YouTube, because we're over 10K, but I don't want all the bots to go away and then we go under 10K. So please subscribe on YouTube so that we stay relevant, because after this off season, I can't handle being irrelevant, Alexa. I can't do it anymore. So
justice for bots.
I love everybody from season 43. Don't you ever forget that. So here is the next person from this purple tribe, which is Tika, by the way. We have Helen Lee, 29 years old, from Wayland, Massachusetts, currently lives in San Francisco, California. She is a product manager who is empathetic, optimistic, and self-aware. Who will she play most like? Oh my gosh, it's the new Parvati. She identifies with Erica.
See, I think the new Parvati is Jeremy, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Also, though, says because we're both small Asian women who can be underestimated. I like that reason. That's different than the others. And play like a mix of Tina from season 2. Unfortunately, Alexa, that's not Timber Tina. And because she was well liked because she was well liked and underestimated, and Sophie Clark for her strategic prowess. Now, I have a problem with that Sophie Clark one, because when I was on YouTube earlier trying to set up our Survivor thing, I saw the 10 worst Survivor winners video, and Sophie Clark was on that. So how could you possibly, like, it was like she was like the whatever you call it.
Who said that she's in the 10 worst Survivor?
Russell Hantz did. So if he said it, it must be true. And so I will say that comparing yourself to Sophie and then Erica and Tina, who beat Colby, who didn't deserve it, man, Helen, you are barking up the wrong tree. But all that being said,
I'm here for Helen.
I really like these answers. I think these.
I'm here for all 3 of those people that Helen just mentioned. Helen is the only person who I've seen a video of, because I was on Twitter for like 9 seconds today, and she tweeted something really funny. She was like, Survivor is like judo, and then she tweeted, and she's like, I don't know anything about judo. And I was like, that's funny and self-aware, and I like that. What else? She alliance partner.
She is Chinese too. I think that's a good thing to bring up, because she is like her parent. I think she's a first generation American.
Okay, gotcha. I wrote down in my notes, like, she's got everything. Like, she's done a lot. There's a lot of experience. She made a comment that I didn't like, so let me figure out what it is. It was something about her having an alliance partner. Where is Helen? Where the heck is she in this little thingy?
Partnership and loyalty to me and only me.
Oh yeah, I was like, that's unrealistic. Why did you say that? But also that maybe she was being funny and it didn't translate over.
Did you not see Jesse Lopez? He had loyalty only to him, and it worked for him.
And guess what? It worked. That's a very good point. She could be the second coming of Jesse, which I'm here for.
Yeah, I think everybody would be pumped about that. So yeah, I mean, I like Helen though. Like, seriously, those answers are good, because what I like about those answers is that'll get the super alpha people, like the people who only root for like the manly men, which
all worked up.
Which, guess what? I like a lot of those manly men that those people like, but the ones who can't see past that and only root for the manly men, like that woman would never survive on an island by herself without Jonathan's biceps. Like, that'll get those people fired up, and I love that. Like, I think that's great, because Tina is one of the most disregarded winners for no reason. She's absolutely amazing at Survivor. Sophie Clark played into egos so well, and Erica was on TV for a couple weeks. I don't know, but that's for all the Erica stans who have been giving me nothing but shit. It's the edit's fault. It's not her fault, but I'm still not going to sit here and praise something I didn't see. I think that Helen knows what she has to do to win Survivor. And that's good.
I like that.
Yeah. All right, next up, we are going, and somebody put this in there, so I can't even take credit for the joke, but I'm going to throw it in anyway. We are going with Coach Ben Wade's niece, and that is Sarah Wade, who is 27 years old from Rochester, Minnesota, currently living in Chicago, Illinois, is a management consultant. She is strategic, driven, and fun. She has been a fan since the very beginning, grew up looking up to women like Stephanie Sari and Parv. The opportunity to go out there and play herself is a lifelong dream. And then the people she would play most like, she identifies most with Natalie. She's competitive, direct, and pretty loyal. However, she was willing to make moves against her alliance when the timing was right. And I love anybody who wants to play like Natalie Tenorelli, so I am all about this. Thank you so much for putting her in there. This is now my winner pick.
Am I missing something? Why is she coach? Oh, Wade. Okay.
Wade, come on, Alexa.
I was looking through this. I was like, what the heck did she say that could possibly give them any relation? And maybe it's her last name. Yeah, I was like, she seems mild-mannered and doesn't exaggerate too much. I don't really see.
It's a bummer because I was making gold jokes here.
And it just
point there, and Alexa was so worried about Coach Ben Wade that she just couldn't get out of her own head.
No, it's too busy Googling the population of Chicago, Illinois, and seeing if there's more people.
Is that you think that's more than set? Like John just told us, Saskatchewan in general has a total population of 1.174 million. Now, John, give me the square mileage of Saskatchewan, and then give me the square mileage of New York City, so that we can compare those. John, that's what you're here for. All right, man. So I actually do. Sorry, this falls into my ballpark, right? This is the 27-year-old girl with the smile who that's all that's what she does. She likes Survivor a lot. Like
her dress
this screams
so
every winner.
So unfortunate that this dress is what you'll have to wear on Survivor. It's so cute.
Yeah, it is.
That's not what we're talking about.
But being the fan that she is and all of that, this is who I would generally pick to win. But after Justine just did me wrong last year, my winner pick stays as the guy who's tall. That's it. That's what I'm going with. So
the guy who's tall and the girl who lives probably close to Alexa.
Yes, exactly. So she did say, though, her best friend died 2 years ago, and the experience has given her drive to pursue her dreams, grit to get through unpleasant experiences, compassion for other people's unseen challenges. All three will fuel her Survivor success. Those are good answers to that question of what's one life experience. That's really well worded. Now let's see how she is when she's not writing and when she's actually talking to people. But that's a really well worded answer there that I appreciate, because a lot of people will be like, oh, when my mother died, when my father died, when my friend died, all that. But that's really the extent of it. And then it'll just be like, they were my hero. Like this wasn't that. This is definitely an interesting answer for that.
Yeah. And I mean, something like when something like that happens to somebody, it is completely life altering. And it sounds like she's used, I don't want to say used it as an opportunity, but really taken a look at her life and said, I'm going to try things that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really interesting and really unique reason to go out on the show. So I think it's going to be, I'm definitely really excited to see her. She's also looking for a logical and strategic partner. I don't know if she said the word loyalty, so I'm here for that. But I think we're going to get a good, head on your shoulders, smart player with her.
Now, let me ask you this, because I have the only jewelry I've ever worn in my life is my wedding ring. And I fiddle with it so much, it drives everybody around me crazy because I don't like wearing jewelry. I don't buy people jewelry. I don't know anything about jewelry. Is she overdressed for this occasion, Alexa? Please tell me, because I'm looking at those earrings and that necklace, and I am saying, okay, we're playing Survivor here, girl. What's going on?
I love the look, but I think, not to deflect, but I think these clothes don't come to the show with them. I might be wrong here, but I think your preseason clothes are not what you wear on the show, but I don't know if I'm right.
But I think Yam Yam is wearing that outfit in the premiere.
Yeah, that's a good point. If so, I really want to know where she bought that dress, but definitely not warm. The earrings, I guess they're larger hoops. We don't see that too much, but I feel like you don't get to wear a lot on Survivor. And that is that can be you showcasing your personality.
Shan had the earrings, right?
Shan had great earrings.
Yeah, she had the huge earrings.
And this could be some big time, 5D chess. We saw people I think players give each other things, and players will I remember Carla really wanted or Ryan was making something for his girlfriend with Carla's earring. Like something was going on with that. So I think having jewelry and kind of being able to use that as a conversation topic is, or like a bargaining chip is something that's really good. If that's why she's wearing that, I'm here for it. If she also wants to look good, then I'm also here for it.
It beats the loophole of you can't offer to split the money with people so that they'll vote with you or let you go further in the game. Because she can be like, just give me your vote at the end and I'll give you this like $100,000 necklace. Go enjoy yourself. You know? Which I don't think that's $100,000.
I deeply hope that is not real gold, but you know what? It might be.
Hey, if that's real gold, more power to you. Also, Sarah is no longer my winner pick, even though she picked Natalie Tenorelli of Survivor Specialist fame to be the player that she plays the most like. For anybody who doesn't know what that means, go watch me and Natalie Tenorelli beat Jeff Probst in a challenge. Jeff ain't got nothing on me, as Denzel once said. So let's move on to the men on this tribe. And I'm going to start off with the little guy here. And I'm going to go with Carson Garrett, the 20-year-old, the baby of the season. It's funny, we went from Sammy as the youngest person on last season to Carson as the youngest person on this season because they are as different as you could possibly be. Sammy was like 6'2" and looked like he was going to beat you up every second. And Carson looks like he's a NASA engineering student. And he's 20, from Rome, Georgia, lives in Atlanta, Georgia, is multifaceted, exuberant, and innovative. He wants to be part of Survivor to win the game. He knows and loves and prove that age does not define success. As someone who has obsessively studied the evolution of game theory within Survivor, I cannot wait to test myself and see how my unique thought process, strategic background fare in a game built upon the idea of adaptability. He wants to play most like, who would have thought, Christian Hubicki. Christian embraced his quirks and nerdiest to disarm his opponents into wanting to work with him. He used his charm and intelligence as a weapon, and despite being labeled as the weakest male in the David tribe initially, he became one of the biggest threats after the merge. I intend to model my game after him, but focus more on diminishing my threat level until the end game. Unlike Christian, I do not plan to reveal my engineering background, especially given the perceptions attached to rocket science, as we all saw with Dave back in season 6. I want people to solely view me in a Mr. Nice Guy light, and I plan to ensure no one will detect my deeply strategic underside. I like this answer, but man, is he going to overthink his way out of the game at some point?
I agree. I really, the quote, the studied evolution of game theory did lose me. Also, a lot of this lost me because I am not smart enough to understand anything that he does on a day-to-day basis. A lot of his answers, I was like, this sounds so impressive, but I do not understand. I agree with you. I'm really excited for him. I really like what he's trying to do. I don't think he necessarily needs to hide what he's like what he's studying. Mm-hmm. However, I mean, Phil, you love Dan Barry. NASA is extremely important to this podcast. So therefore we stand. But I do think students of the game make me very nervous, especially in modern Survivor. I actually have really been drawn to the people who say, I'm not going in with a plan. I'm going in with vibes, because you really cannot have a plan. So I think overstudying just could lead to some overplaying. That being said, I'm very excited to watch him.
Yeah. First, I will say Dan Barry was my inspiration for becoming an astronaut. So I just want to throw that out there. And
which has gone so far. Well, I feel to go to Cape Canaveral.
People don't realize why I moved to Florida. So that is why I moved to Florida. Dan Barry was a big inspiration. Still, the reason that Terry Dietz did not win Survivor is because Dan Barry was voted out there. Had Dan stayed, Bruce switches sides. I know that everybody wanted a Panama rehash, which is why I'm doing this.
We're an hour in and we're talking about this.
And we're talking about Survivor Panama. But yes, Dan Barry is the GOAT. Carson hasn't been to space. He just wants to send people to space. So he's not Dan Barry, okay? But I just worry it's not the age thing on this, right? Because I don't think the age thing matters so much in Survivor anymore, because younger people are getting more life experience much quicker, even if they're maybe becoming a little bit more arrogant as the old man I am, because though they're able to build up really businesses at a young age. We're seeing people become famous younger, and not because they're Macaulay Culkin. And what's funny is Carson's going to have to go look up Macaulay Culkin now because he has no freaking clue who that is.
Is that the guy who's related to the guy from Succession?
Yes, exactly. So that's the only reason he'll know, because he never watched Home Alone. But I just think that Carson is going to overthink. I think Carson probably knows the game better than anybody else on this season. But that doesn't always mean you're going to win. We saw Omer dominate his game and then lose. But we also saw Jesse come in with a plan, know the game, but be able to adapt when he needed to adapt to get to Final Four. He still lost. Mike Gabler was the one who won, and Gabler didn't know what the hell he was doing on day number 1. So I think knowing the game too well, we had Zach on this podcast. Zach was the first person voted out of the game. He knew the game like the back of his hand, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to do well. You need to sometimes be able to adjust very, very quickly. And so, Carson, I hope you prove me wrong, but this is for me, if we were doing the bootless game this season, this would be a pre-merger for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
boom.
Right. All right, we're moving on. Next. So we are sticking with the men on this tribe. And now I need to get my thing up here. We have Bruce Peralt from West Warwick, Rhode Island. He is now living in Warwick, Rhode Island. He is 46 years old. He is an insurance agent, energetic, funny, and competitive. He wants to be part of Survivor because it's a great social experiment. It breaks you down only to test you to get back up. He wants to be like Jeremy Collins. He would identify the most with him. His sense of family and commitment. He would play like Jeremy Collins. We get it? Jeremy Collins. His hobbies are golf and boxing. Alexa, 2 things that people generally do on the same day. What is your take on Bruce?
I just really appreciate that someone who works in insurance would describe themselves as energetic. Something that makes me very happy. Yeah, I get like great dad energy from him. With our first Rhode Island contestant since the slew of Rhode Island people in Island of the Idols. Mike Bloom on this cast assessment described him having as carefree confidence. And I really liked that. And I do kind of get that just from his answers and from his photo. Here's where we go. He's one of the older people on this season at the ripe age of 46. He's the
oldest which is 46, which is funny following up Gabler winning.
Right. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I like him. I get just like good kind of calm energy from him. Anybody who says they want to play like Jeremy Collins, like Jeremy's a perfect player to want to play like. Really loved his answer. What do you value in an alliance partner? Someone that looks at Survivor as what it is, a game. But then it kind of goes backwards a little bit. I would want an alliance partner that shows loyalty to tell me if my name is coming up as I would do for them. That I feel like naturally is sort of the opposite of what is happening on Survivor. But to your point, these people have not watched season 43 and we haven't seen a lot of like extreme loyalty other than that. Short answer, I'm a fan. I get like mid-jury from him.
Yeah, I think Bruce is one of those people, if he gets far enough, he could probably win. It's really going to come down to how can he bond with people who are 5 years or 6 years younger than him. I mean, that's a really hard thing to do. I worry for him being so out of touch with reality and being 46 years old that he's just not going to be able to keep up. The saddest part here, Alexa, is
also if he golfs and boxes, like he's got to be in shape.
The saddest part for me here means that he was born in 1977 or 76, which is like when Star Wars came out. So it makes me really sad that Star Wars and Bruce are both 46 years old.
What would possibly end my life is if they talk about Star Wars and someone's like, oh, I like, have you heard of like The Mandalorian? And they talk about like, oh, like that would truly cause me to pass out.
Yeah, because you have this guy, Bruce, here who he probably was watching Return of the Jedi in theaters. And all these kids were watching Return of the Jedi because they had to be able to watch the other one in theater.
Right. The what I mean? Like triple remastered version.
Yeah, to be able to watch the first one as their first movie in theaters. Like Carson was probably showing up to The Force Awakens like, at like the ripe age of like 6 years old, holding his dad's hand, going in. I mean, I'm really drawing a picture here, right? But this is
and
the
Bruce is throwing popcorn at them from
exactly. Bruce is like, everybody shut up. This is my childhood, not yours. I don't need to hear this shit. But I like Bruce. I think Bruce is somebody who could definitely pull something out here. And he's an insurance agent. What does that say about you? I have no idea. I really don't know.
I truly do not know.
But I will say, I know something to say about this next guy, and that is Yam Yam Oroko. So Yam Yam is the guy who I think fell off the rocks or something in the preview that they showed.
I think so.
I think that's him. He's from Bayamon, Puerto Rico. He lives in San Juan, Puerto Rico. He is a salon owner. He is fun, loud, and caring. He wants to play like Sari Fields, lovable, caring, and fun. She is super intelligent and a strategy genius. I hope to emulate her and win. I like this answer about Hurricane Maria hitting Puerto Rico. They had no power in his house or work for 90 days, and he had to lead his team of 20-plus adults, most older than him, and give them hope when he felt he had none. Without them, he would not be who he is today. He is 36 years old, first player from Puerto Rico. What do you think, Alexa?
I think he's going to be like the voice of the season. He's going to be here. We saw him almost die on the rocks. I hope he's well. But I'm laughing. We've never had a contestant from Puerto Rico before. And I'm not sure, is this the first season that people from Puerto Rico have been able to be on the season? I'm not sure. But the reason that I'm laughing on this run-on sentence is because there is someone else on this cast we haven't talked about who was like born or was raised in Puerto Rico and now doesn't live there. And I feel for them that they could have been the first one, but then there's also someone else on the season who actually lives in Puerto Rico. But I also think Lyrsa was from there as well. So
I think she was. And wasn't that one Lindsay, am I just totally making that up? Was she just from like a town in Indiana that was called like Puerto Rico, Indiana or something? Like, wasn't
so
Lindsay the one who quit back in Cagayan from like, wasn't she originally Puerto Rican or something? Am I making this up?
I am not sure, but
I'm pretty sure I'm making this up. Let's pretend it didn't happen.
He's going to be fun. He's going to be high energy. He is who I'm putting at number 3 for having a confessional in every episode that he's in. Like he's a prophet darling. I think he's going to be great. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I cannot really get a gauge of how much the personality is going to translate to like impacting his gameplay, but everyone's going to love him. I think the internet has already fallen for him.
Yeah.
So that makes me very happy for him.
Well, and I wonder like if
he also goes by Yam Yam.
Well, they didn't shoot over Halloween, but I wonder if he gave them a taste of the bearded drag he would have done on Halloween had this season shot over Halloween, because he says that no one would ever know from looking at him. And wearing this cat shirt and everything, I'm not sure that that's true, but he says that he does bearded drag at Halloween. So that's a fun time. Yam Yam. So we heard whoever it was, it's been too long now and there's 12 people. I can't remember anybody. I think it was it Maddie who said like, or no, it was Jamie. I'm going to just be who I'm going to be. And that's it. Like, and I'm going to win because I watched Marianne do it. Yam Yam, I think, is the one who could probably do that. Like, it feels like Yam Yam is being the most authentically Yam Yam, and he's not going to be able to turn it off at all. And nobody is going to see that as like a like with Jamie, it might seem like she's holding back. I don't think anybody's expecting a man who calls himself Yam Yam to be normal. So I think that works in his favor where he can be himself and win. But I still think that like you said, he's the voice of the season. He's probably going to go out in like 7th, 8th, something like that. But if anybody, like if any of these really loud personalities or that say they're really loud personalities can actually pull out the win, probably him, because nobody's expecting Yam Yam to have a normal bone in his body. He calls himself Yam Yam, is wearing a cat shirt.
Yeah, I think he'll be extremely authentic. And I think there's a couple people on this cast and also this tribe that I think has a lot of personality and a lot of energy. But I think just like the recent winners that we've had have been people who are extremely authentic, sometimes to like their own detriment especially the past 2 winners, like to their detriment at some point in their game. So I actually think that's a really refreshing type of winner. And I think it's also a refreshing type of player, that people who are so authentic and so themselves and are not what society deems as normal, that it doesn't make them like an outcast anymore. It makes them exciting. And that's a really interesting shift in Survivor.
Yeah, I think it's just been a shift in culture, right? Like, I think I think at this point, if you threw Yam Yam on the show and he was the only person from the LGBT community who was on the show, I still think he would do better than people from the early seasons who were in the LGBT community. Like, I think there's no doubt about that, just because of society in general. Before we jump into the third tribe, And before I ask you what you think about the third tribe, I just want to give everybody a quick update on our Saskatchewan, New York City situation here. So Saskatchewan has a total population of 1.147 million people. New York City has a total population of 8.468 million people. So 8 times the size. Okay, that's good. New York City is 302 square miles. Saskatchewan is 251,699.997 square miles.
That is a necessary distinction. That is like, that's like a reach. I'm curious, like how big of the, like what section of the United States you could put Saskatchewan in.
Hang on. So I'm gonna give you this real quick just because I think it's important. It is 833 times the size of New York City in terms of land.
How many states is that? New York City's so small.
I know New York City. Everybody knows New York City's small and just insanely densely populated, but I just thought that was a fun thing.
That is a very fun fact. And because you didn't ask, Tika is the hot mess tribe in a good way.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So that's what I was going to ask. Tika, I think Tika is the hot mess tribe. Sam Higdon says they did not talk about Sarah. I hope you don't mean us because we definitely talked about Coach Wade's niece. Okay. That definitely happened. And I think Sarah and Bruce both have very good chances to win. I think Helen has a really good chance to win. I think the Tika tribe probably has the two people who I don't see pulling out the win, even though they go deep, which is Carson and Carolyn. And then you have a total wild card in Yam Yam. When you look at the Orange tribe, that was a lot more normal of a tribe. Mm-hmm. That felt like everybody on that tribe could win. And that was really it. Like they could all win. Okay, cool. Let's move on. This one, it feels like we have 2 people who can't, 3 people who can, who might be favorites, and then Yam Yam. So
yeah, that's
how I feel.
I like it.
And I also thought Justine was going to win last season. So take what I say with nothing. We're moving on to the final tribe, the Soka tribe. They're going to be wearing green. Have we seen a tribe of this color green, Alexa? This is a very unique green color.
It is very unique green. I'm very excited. I don't know if that means that the winner comes out of there or they're voted out 1 through 6, but I like it. I'm glad we're changing it up a little bit. I like the colors this season. They're what are we? Purple, green, and purple, like purple, lime, and orange.
And this color orange that nobody's ever heard of, that hasn't been on the last 46 seasons of Survivor.
Yeah, I know. How much does that stink? You like get on Survivor and it's like you're on the orange tribe.
You're on the orange tribe and you're like, I'm going to go down in history like Michael Yerger. It's all over.
I'm going to end up as a model. Sounds great.
So I've been doing a little bit of research on the internet, just trying to gauge people's reactions to this cast. And there's one person who has stood out above the rest as being like a clear fan favorite because of their videos and stuff. Now, maybe this is just in my circles, maybe it's not, but I'm going to save that person for last because all of you should have to sit here and listen to our entire 2-hour podcast. And I'm not going to give the people what they want until I say so. So instead, I'm going to start off with the man, the myth, the legend, Danny Massa, 32 years old from Bronx, New York, currently lives in the Bronx, New York. He's a New York City firefighter. I always love that when you're if you're Keith Nail, you're a firefighter. If you're Tom Westman, you're a New York City firefighter.
Yeah, they different.
I love it. I absolutely love that every time they're from New York City, it's like, okay, we must bow down to Ken from Thailand because he's a New York City police officer. Sarah Lucina, she's in Iowa, okay? She's lucky she's even a police officer. She's lucky we count her. But Ken, he is a New York City police officer. So we have New York City firefighter Danny Massa. He is kind, passionate, and determined. Survivor is the game that puts the human condition on display and strips you down to your rawest form. It's terrifying. I believe true happiness is found outside your comfort zone. I also find all of my true happiness when I'm terrified, so thank you for that. He will play like Jeremy Collins, his man. He hopes he can be cunning in the affable way he is. This is a very short answer. Now, does he only want to play like Jeremy Collins because Jeremy Collins also is a firefighter, but not a New York City firefighter. He is a lowly Boston area firefighter.
I know you would think Boston would be like mid-tier, but
no.
Oh no. But Jeremy got to wear his like Cambridge Fire shirt, and that was cool. But I think if you're a firefighter on Survivor, you are required to wear your firefighter, like city firefighter t-shirt.
Yeah.
Which is great. I appreciate that he is, quote, pretty proud of running a 34-mile ultramarathon. Not extremely proud. He's like pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
So That makes me happy for him.
It's because his time sucked. Alec Merlino's time would have been faster. So way to go, Danny. If you're gonna get on the line, you better run a PR. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. That's the point. Yeah, I thought that was good. What his accomplishment he's most proud of? Being kind always, number one, being a compassionate fireman, and then ran a 34-mile ultramarathon. Okay, he's a New York City firefighter. He does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He runs with his dog. He does breath work and meditation. He hates bullies and whining. Is he going to be good TV, Alexa, or is he going to be like JP Hasselbeck or whatever his name was?
You got Hilsebeck.
Whatever. I thought he married Elizabeth Hasselbeck. I can never remember. And she kept her ex-husband's last name rather than changing it back to Filarski. I just feel like this guy is giving he's Captain America, but we haven't seen a Captain America in a long time because Captain Americas don't really do good on the show. Also, he's not old enough to be my guy. He's not my Terry Dietz. He's not age. He's not an old man.
Is he a dad though? I feel like you like dad energy.
I don't think he is a dad. I think he just looks like a dad. I think he just screams dad at the top of his lungs, but I don't think he is a dad.
I love him. I think he's going to be great. But yeah, I mean, Captain America is not always the most exciting. Like Captain America doesn't always make for great TV. However, this guy is he's giving me Wendell energy. There's nothing wrong with anything he said. I really he does breath work. No one says they do breath work on Survivor. That's going to help. Maybe that'll help him calm down in extreme situations. This guy's a firefighter. He's constantly in extreme situations. He lives in New York. He's constantly in extreme situations. I really like him. I think he will be a calming force. And I don't feel like he talked a lot about Survivor. So maybe he's not a huge fan, but I like that even more. And that's what I have to say.
So he's going to finish 17th place because he is literally Brendan Shapiro 2.0.
Yeah. I appreciate that he doesn't have a plan, which also definitely adds to him not being a fan.
Yes, I agree. I do like him. I think he could be really good, but I just sit here and I'm like, based on those answers, what the hell did this guy do other than come in and start saying things that sound stupid because he has a heavy New York accent? What else did he do to get cast on this show? And I say that as being from New Jersey, where we say "whata" and stupid stuff like that. So I'm allowed to insult people with dumb accents because I have one when I want to. Alexis pops out every now and then. She becomes very Boston, but
it's only when I want to.
Only when she wants to. What did he do? Because that's not a knock, but we know that they're not casting a JP ever again. These answers are so JP.
However, they cast Roxroy. I think people
Roxroy was interesting. He was a weird guy.
His answers were not interesting.
True.
His answers
well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. So there's obviously something there, but I think there's something to be said about casting Captain America. I think as we cast just more personalities, it also is nice to cast somebody who is a personality that we've seen many times before, not even seen many times before, but a personality that you would assume you would walk by on the street. Mm-hmm. I think that's good. I think it's going to show the dichotomy of different kind of people that we have.
Yeah. He literally one of my groomsmen is a 31-year-old Jersey City firefighter. Looks exactly like this guy. Even has one sleeve. Doesn't have both. Has one.
You must have just one sleeve.
It's the same person. It's so weird. So yeah, Danny Massa. Let's see what you got, buddy. All right. Whoa! I just hit the wrong person there. Okay, where are we going? We are going to Josh Wilder. Now he is Dr. Josh Wilder to you. 34 years old. Hometown is Cincinnati, Ohio, currently lives in Atlanta, Georgia, is a surgical podiatrist. He's adventurous, charismatic, ambitious. Why does he want to be a part of Survivor? To prove to himself and any other little gay black boy or girl that you can do anything you put your mind to. Growing up with a medical condition, I was only told by numerous people and doctors that I couldn't or wouldn't be able to do things like other people. I called bullcrap and have completely astounded doctors with what I have achieved both professionally and personally. Never let anyone tell you what you can and cannot do. He identifies most with Jeremy and will play most like Avi. He had a great social game and was a beast at challenges. So that is, I think, the first time ever that we are getting an answer that is not from American Survivor.
Ooh. Spicy.
So Josh is a nerd, and I don't have time for him. Thinking
Yeah,
he's better
Phil
than
doesn't
us.
believe in international.
There is no
Survivor.
other Survivor. These
I
others are
have not seen,
knockoffs.
as somebody who has seen 2 seasons of International Survivor, that is very exciting. Good for him for stepping outside the mold. Josh is jacked and also very well-rounded. Him being jacked also leads to him being well-rounded.
Okay. I was going to say, are you talking about because he's wearing like those bike shorts for some reason? Like what are we talking about?
I feel like bike shorts are probably a great thing to wear on Survivor.
Also very funny though, is this the least doctory anybody who's a doctor has ever been dressed?
I know. He's only mentioned, ever been dressed. Yeah.
Like he's literally wearing like a sleeveless hoodie and bike shorts.
He's also a podiatrist, which is a very like specific type of doctor. I went to a podiatrist once because I had glass in my foot, and let me tell you, they saved my life. But I think so. Maybe they're like trying to do like, oh, podiatrist, athletic. I don't know, but he also is probably more has more to him than just being a doctor. He clearly has a really, really unique story of resilience and overcoming odds. We saw that a little bit with Ryan last season. And I typically really enjoy watching somebody like that. I think he's coming out with something to prove, and I think I really like him.
So I want to read a little bit more of his story because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
One would never know that he was born with a congenital deformity called prune belly syndrome, which I have no idea what that is. Required him to have a kidney transplant at 9 years old. He's on a lifelong immunosuppressant medication, which caused him to develop stomach cancer when he was 25. He had to have a complete stomach removal because of this. And
I had to reread that like 3 times.
Yeah. Doing great and is cancer free. And then his biggest inspiration in life is Kristen Regal, who was his kidney donor. She died at the age of 15 from a drunk driver, and her grandma donated all of her organs, was a perfect match, and received her kidney, which is pretty amazing. I didn't even know at 15 you could be an organ donor. So that's crazy.
That's insane.
But now to go on to more important things, his pet peeves: unnecessary rudeness, people who walk slow in front of me, and people who mispronounce salmon. Salmon, right? That's what you want me to say here. Salmon. Is that what we're going for? He doesn't like when people say salmon. So he wants people to just say salmon because that's what you're supposed to say. But I'm going to call it salmon because I want Josh to know that I get it. I get it.
Josh, a couple things. One, wants to play like Davey, so automatically obsessed. But that like who his inspiration is, that for the first time in a really long time, I had to pause reading that. It's just really moving, and I'm hopeful that they like speak to it more on the show. But what I really appreciate about him is in this very small box of answers, I feel like we know so much about what has made him who he is, but also a lot of his personality. He also runs obstacle courses as a hobby, and that feels like a big green flag for Survivor.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm pumped to watch Josh play. I think Josh is going to be really good. Crazy backstory. Going to give him the life experience he needs and definitely fit enough to get through this. So I'm excited about that. And now I'm going to go look up everything about having your whole stomach removed because I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. Yeah. So you need to have to look at that. Especially everything I just went through this last year, Alexa. Yeah. Very curious how that's even a thing.
Yeah.
Finally, we are at the last male from this season, and certainly not the least, considering he is the winner pick for being tall. We have Matt Blankenship, who is 27 years old from Albany, California. Currently lives in San Francisco.
Not to be mistaken for Albany, New York.
I know. I'm sure they're about the same. Currently lives in San Francisco, California, is a security software engineer, joyful, empathetic, and persistent. Has always wanted to play Survivor, but always chickened out. Says he aspires to combine the listening and consensus building strengths of Yule with some goofiness and youthful energy a la Marianne. Those answers are great.
I love anyone who references Yule. I'm here for.
Yeah, those are great answers. So I really like him now. The first time I've read anything about him was while you all heard me read it. I like him even more now. I mean, this is an easy winner. I don't see how he would possibly lose. But I always like the people who love Survivor and don't apply for Survivor, but then go out and apply and get on. I always think that's a fun story because a lot of times you do get people who are a little bit more reserved, but that also shows there's a little bit more thoughtfulness to them, rather than just like, I'm going to throw every video out there that I can do whatever. Like, I think that's really cool. He says he was made for Survivor, and yeah, I could see him winning. I really could, because he's tall.
Yeah, strictly because he's tall. But additionally, I really like that he feels prepared for Survivor because of how many times he's failed. That is an extremely humble and self-aware answer, and I don't think anybody has ever said anything like that. He's like, he gives me like part goofy, part smart, like doesn't take anything too seriously, but very clearly loves the show and wants to win. Also wants a mutually beneficial alliance partner. Again, like that's very realistic. Nobody is going to have somebody just follow them around, especially if you're looking for that. So from him, I get like really good, solid answers, like nothing over the top. I'm not going to say he's going to win because I can't steal your thunder like that, but I am really, I like what he's.
You can't steal my what, Alexa?
Your thunder.
Yeah, there it was. Okay, that's what I was talking about with Alexa's Boston accent. That sometimes. Yeah, no, I really think that this guy's got potential, and you know, again, when I'm looking at this tribe so far with the men here, I think all the weird guys, I think like I agree with you. Tika is the hot mess tribe. There's no doubt about it. Tika is the hot mess tribe. And now when they come out and they're the most boring tribe in the history of Survivor, it's going to be really disappointing. But I feel like they're the hot mess tribe.
Always got to have one.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, we're hopping over to the women. And I'm going to start with, okay, I need to get the name up here. Heidi Lagares Greenblatt, 43. Hometown is Ponce, Puerto Rico, but you better believe she's not the first Puerto Rican on this show because she now lives in the very different climate of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So she's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, energetic, adventurous, and loud, wearing a yellow dress that is very yellow. This is the dream, she says. And she absolutely loves Sandra. That is the least shocking thing I've ever read. She's from Puerto Rico, and if she can be half as good as her, that means she will win once, although she wants to compete in the challenges. That's funny. After rewatching seasons, she truly likes Angelina. She is seen as a villainess, but I love her female empowerment, and her negotiations have changed the game. I love Angelina, but I think we're spinning Angelina a little bit here. I don't know if I want to play the game like Angelina. I'm just going to throw that out there because Angelina was never going to win 37.
I want to be on White Lotus the way that Angelina was on.
Yeah, that's how I want to be on White Lotus too. But Sandra's a good answer. And I mean, Alexa, there was something we never talked about, but we have a couple people who are Team Parvati and a couple people who are Team Sandra before Sandra and Parvati blew up on each other on the internet.
We've had a stressful offseason, everybody.
I'm telling you.
That being the number one most stressful thing.
So, like, do you think Heidi would still side with Sandra, or does Queen Parvati take over? I mean, these are the questions that have been circling because we haven't been able to do any interviews.
Someone needs to ask Heidi. Someone needs to pull her off this island right now and ask her. I hope she's okay after watching this very extreme social media debate between Sandra and Parvati that truly tore me apart inside.
Yeah.
I like her. I get Chrissy energy from her in a very, I mean that as a compliment because I love Chrissy. She's an engineering manager. I don't think there's a single person who would look at her in that bright yellow dress and say that woman is an engineering manager. I really, really like that. I think people are going to deeply underestimate her. She wants strategic collaboration. That is a work answer. This woman, like, she is not coming to mess around. I really like her. She seems very real. I'm sorry, she's not the first person from Puerto Rico, but I'm now pretty darn confident that Lirsa was the first person. From
I'm pretty sure there were more Puerto Ricans earlier on that, like, isn't Mike Puerto Rican? Like, I don't know if he ever lived in Puerto Rican, but
I think I'm not sure.
Okay. But anyway,
he's from Hoboken.
He's from Hoboken. That never forget. CrossFit and playing board games are her favorite hobbies. I'd love to know.
Two things that have so much in common.
Yeah, I love board games, CrossFit.
Range.
Boo, but I do like
unnecessary working out.
Yeah, nobody needs. Exactly. Thank you, Alexis. So
working out.
This is the first boot of this season because she unnecessarily works out. That's it. Done. Bye, Heidi. No, I think there's potential here. I mean, I'll tell you what, she doesn't look 43 years old, that's for sure. And that's from somebody who is quickly approaching that age. I do not think she looks 43 at
Probably
all.
Because she works out. That was so mean. I'm so sorry.
Wow. Okay, first of all, that's mean. But second of all, I hate when people have to work out to look young. I will look young forever by riding my bike leisurely. Okay, that is what I will do. But yeah, I like Heidi. I like Heidi. I like
Heidi
that
on the show.
She is. I'm looking here. She is the old woman on this season. Congratulations, Heidi.
CrossFit.
You are an old woman on this season. That's so crazy. So mind-blowing. Anyway.
It's so ridiculous.
But yeah, Heidi, 43 years old.
Here for it.
Get it done. All right. Next up, we are going to Franny Marin, who I swear to God, I thought Kellen was on the season again when I first saw her. I was like, what? When did that happen? But anyway, Franny Marin, 23 years old from St. Paul, Minnesota, now lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I don't know if that means she goes to Harvard or not, but maybe.
Probably goes to Harvard.
She is a research coordinator, curious, calculating, and zesty. Wow. So we have a feral and a zesty. I love that.
The feral.
Why do you want to be part of Survivor? Survivor is like a 4-course meal for the brain, body, and spirit. There's no 4th course. Oh, it's a 4-course meal for those 3 things.
There it is.
So that's it. Who does she want to play like? There's so many players she'd like to say here, but she identifies most with Gabby and Aubrey. She hopes to play like those 2 strong women with the extra spunk that we saw from Mary Ann. Now, it's interesting that you would want to play like a runner-up. I don't understand it. There was another woman on that season who was quite strong and won. And I take these digs really liking Aubrey. But anyway, we'll talk about that later because you better believe I'm ending this podcast with a whole thing about Survivor Co-Wrong.
I was about to say.
You know it's coming. But Gabby, Aubrey, Mary Ann, those are interesting. That's a Gabby answer, which I feel like we haven't seen much of. I feel like Gabby was very popular during 37 and was very popular right after 37, but has since kind of fallen off a little bit in popularity. I don't really know why that is. Maybe it's just because there was a break in between and we've all kind of given up on the hope that we're going to get anybody from pre-40 again. But if you were to ask, like, who do you want to see from the 30s as a woman who's, who has only played one, she'd probably be near the top for a lot of people. So I think that that's funny that Franny mentions Gabby there because Gabby has become like less of an answer to these questions. Aubrey's always going to be an answer. Mary Ann is fresh on everybody's mind, but Gabby almost feels like you're pulling from the past, which in reality, she's really not. It's
not even that far
from that long ago.
Thoughts and prayers for Francesca Hoagie, who is now not even the only Francesca anymore. I assume Francesca is her full name. Zesty is a great answer. She better be zesty. You can't say you're zesty and not be exciting. So I will be holding her to that. She collects leaves, which I have a few questions about, but I think that was an interesting answer. In an alliance partner, she wants someone who she can talk through every possible outcome with. I like that answer. As somebody's type A, it needs to literally like talk about every single answer. But I think that's also realistic. On Survivor, you always hear the plan is consistently changing. It's changing at the 11th hour. Someone who knows that that's what's coming and wants somebody else who can be in lockstep in that situation, I think is a really good thing I think that's a good quality to look for. I haven't watched the video yet, so like I get where you're coming from with the Kellen comparisons. Navidi Strong.
I almost feel like her photo is like almost identical to the
she kind of looks like her,
right? Because like when I just look at like when I have it up in the top screen, so I have you full screen and then I just go over the tab and when I see that photo, I'm like, that Kellen? And then I click it and I'm like, okay, it's not Kellen, but like it's like the same exact pose. But anyway, I think I like that we're getting some game night answers here from these late bloomers. I do think people who really like board games and stuff do really well on Survivor. I think that there's something like Adam's a huge board game guy. Michelle loves board games. Like I do think people who are really into that before they go out on the show are good at that, especially if you play those like social deduction games, because you're kind of used to like how far you can push the boundaries. Now, granted, if you're playing this with your same friends every time, that's different. But if that's what she means by game nights, and it seems like she's fresh out of college, if she was doing a lot of college game nights, she was probably getting a different group all the time. Having to be able to read numerous rooms is a pretty big deal in those types of games. Now, granted, you're not playing for $1 million, but it does create kind of a social skill and a social awareness that is pretty interesting. But yeah, if looking at her photo and reading her bio, I was like, man, she is zesty, like 100% just flat out zesty. So I'm all about Franny. I think Franny's going to do really well.
Absolutely. Final one.
So this was to troll the internet, who was going wild over this girl today. I mean, wild. Everybody loves her. She was posting on social media, which who knows if that's allowed. I mean, but she was. And so Claire Rafson, right? Am I saying that correctly?
Rafson?
Claire, anybody?
Rafson.
Claire Rafson, whatever it's going to be. She is the last person we are talking about. From Highland Park, Illinois, currently lives in Brooklyn, New York, is 25 years old, is a tech investor, is energetic, motivated, and cunning. Survivor has been her dream since she was 4 years old. She's growing up as a queer Black Jewish woman. She has always been the odd one out. She feels like she's been playing a social strategic game of Survivor her whole life to fit in, succeed, and reach her goals. She would definitely identify the most with Michelle Fitzgerald. Okay, I just want everybody to.
It's getting hot in here.
She would, yeah, I know. My wife just slammed the door as she walked out of the house.
Not this again.
She identifies most with Michelle the Queen Fitzgerald. Nobody ever forget it. She loves her social game and how she used people's perceptions of her against them. But she thinks she'll play most like Natalie Anderson in Blood versus Water. She doesn't take bullshit from anyone and knew how to when to make a move. Now notice how she said Blood versus Water, Natalie Anderson, and not Winners at War, Natalie Anderson. Okay,
that's a real fan right there.
That's a real fan, and anybody who's going to say Michelle Fitzgerald is going to instantly become my winner pick. But because the internet loves her so much, she can't be my winner pick, right? Like she just absolutely can't. Because I sit here. And last year, Cassidy was everybody's all over Cassidy. Everybody's all over Jesse. And the Alec Gabler won the damn thing. And I was the only one who believed in that man. So if this is the real Jesse, welcome to the chat, buddy. Claire. We couldn't agree more. Alexa, what is your take before I just go goo-goo over this person who picked Michelle Fitzgerald as their identity?
I am also deeply goo-goo over this person. Hope that she also lives within a 1 mile radius of me. The only deeply questionable behavior that I need clarification on is that she listens to a Hunger Games audiobook every night to fall asleep. I hope that is an exaggeration. If it is not, she is winning this game because that is buck wild.
Yeah,
I do not know how you fall asleep to that kind of content. I love her. She is not what you would expect the VC tech bro to be. I'm automatically love that, but she seems to have that intensity that is needed to work in venture capital. The internet loves her, so obviously it's my job to be like, meh, but I love her. I'm really here for her. And yes, I also like Michelle, but not as much as you, so I can't make that my thing.
I do think that's really Jesse too, which I hope it is. Because man, I love Jesse, and we're so damn close. But anyway, yeah. Sorry,
my computer.
Yeah, I know. I will interact with his name on my screen. But anyway, yeah, Claire. Claire seems like she's one of the most excited people coming out. So we've talked about this a lot, right? Like we had Jesse was very into this. Coming into last season, Cassidy was very like vocal. Or not so much Shan, but Ricard was very vocal after 41. Oh, how much you want to read into that? You can read into it, but none of them have won. Gabler was pretty quiet. Marianne was pretty quiet. Erica was pretty quiet. Maybe they're all pretty scared because like they have the most to lose by being vocal. But right now, Claire seems like the most excited out of all of them. I will say, I was not sure about last season when I did this podcast alone because Alexa was off doing something. I forget what it was, but you literally were like out for like a week or something. So I don't remember what it was. But anyway, I did this podcast alone and I don't really remember what I said about everybody as a whole, but I will say this about this season. Seems like a very interesting cast. I think, and this doesn't mean that they're going to win or they're going to dominate by any means, but I think there are more women on this season with the potential to win the game than there are men on this season with the potential to win the game. And that's always something that we look at when we do our power rankings and our boot list and our prop bet games and everything like that. I think somebody like Helen, Sarah, Franny, Claire, Heidi, I think Lauren, maybe even Maddie. Now I'm only leaving off Carolyn and Jamie, so I kind of seem like a dick. But all of that is like, I feel like it's a really, really strong group of women. And I feel like the men might be a little bit more of like either in over their head or the personalities or something like that. Now, that doesn't mean that a woman is going to win this season. It just means I feel that when they were casting this season, they were putting the women on the season more for the purpose of this is somebody who could win the game as opposed to like, this is going to be somebody who's phenomenal TV. Although I do think Carolyn will be phenomenal TV, but that's where my head is at after looking at the 18.
So who are your two winner picks?
So I get to pick one man and one woman. And keeping in mind that I am not allowed to pick Claire because everybody must keep me under control for the next.
You can pick Claire. I'm picking someone else. So
well, I can't pick Claire because the internet loves her too much. But if I was going with my heart, anybody who mentions the Queen would get my pick. But I am gonna go. I'm gonna go with Matt because even after reading Matt's bio, I actually feel like out of all the men, Matt might have the best chance to win, or at least screams like the most like I could win out of all of the men. In terms of the women, I'm kind of torn between Helen and Sarah. I think Helen and Sarah both have a lot of potential on this season. And part of me wants to go with Helen because Helen's answers were she nailed it. She really nailed it. And if she can come out there and she can do what Erica was trying to do, but understands it, that could be good. But I'm going to go with Sarah because anybody who can put up with Coach Wade your entire life deserves it. I love that. I hope that this rumor really starts that's it. In the bottom here, Jesse says, one day when I grow up, I want to be a Survivor specialist guest. When you are older, Jesse, you will 100% be a guest.
We'll tell you when you're older, Jesse.
Yeah, we'll tell you when you're older. You tell us when you're older. That's really what it comes down.
My winner picks are my girl Maddie because she had the best answer of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm going to pick Josh to win. I really liked his answers. I think he's very well-rounded. I think he himself says he has a lot to prove. So I'm really, really excited for both of them. But I'm really pumped for this cast. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I remember watching the preview and I was like, this cast seems mildly unhinged in a good way. And I think that's a really, really good precursor to a good season.
Yeah, this seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we have fun with it. Like Alexa said, we have a lot of stuff planned. But before you give the outro here,
yes,
I do have to say this. So tomorrow, February 1st, 2023, on Netflix will be Survivor Co-Raw. It will be premiering on Netflix. So for any of you who haven't watched this season and you've been watching just 41 to 44 and you found us somehow, even though we haven't done as much as we used to do, go watch this season. It's one of the best. It has the best winner of all time. And it's time to sit down and put respect on her name. And I can't wait to have the conversation going all over my interwebs again for the next month before this next season airs, because I will, if you have something bad to say about Michelle, at me, it's Phil_Wood_Jr. And I will tell you all the reasons why you're wrong and unintelligent. So Michelle Fitzgerald is back on our TVs tomorrow, Alexa. How stoked are you that she's about to be Netflix famous?
I am not stoked to go on Reddit every day and people being, Aubrey should have won. I've already gone through this. I don't need to go through it again. I am very excited. I think it's a fantastic season to put on Netflix because it's very controversial and there's a lot of good characters. I am really looking forward to rewatching it on Netflix first thing tomorrow morning or whenever.
Yeah, I will. I have my alarm set for midnight, and I plan on putting it. What I really want to do is what my plan was, and now I'm telling everybody, but the first shot of Michelle, I was going to screenshot it and post it to Twitter and say the moment that I realized Michelle was going to win the season, because that's how obvious her edit is.
You should absolutely do that. I think that would be very funny.
Yeah, but anyway.
But I do feel bad for Michelle because her Twitter is about to blow up in a bad way. So
after she just went through whatever happened on the challenge, because I don't watch the challenge. As much as I love and support Michelle, I don't need to watch the challenge. But
no. But anyways, I'm really hungry and we've been podcasting for almost 2 hours, which we haven't done since Nam. So we have a schedule already for the Survivor preseason. So this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Phil and I are going to be live with our prop bet game. We're really excited to bring that back. I need to text Robert and have him make that Google form so that you all can participate as well. And then just due to some scheduling, Phil and I are really busy that second/third week of February. So we're not going to be back until Monday the 20th, which I just realized is President's Day. Hope that works for everybody. We are going to be joined by Peridium, and we are trying to figure out exactly what we're going to be talking about. It might be like a new era discussion and how 44 might change a little bit. There's some new twists that we're going to see. It might be a game, extremely unclear. And then that following Monday, the 27th, 2 days before the premiere of Survivor 44, we are going to be doing our very famous fantasy game, probably with some combination of Vaughn, if he isn't saving the world, and Robert, if he isn't interning for us. So make sure to tune in. All those will probably be after work hours on Eastern time. We'll post all those once we have the information, but we are so excited. Congratulations to everybody who is on Survivor 44. If you're listening, enjoy the ride. We're really excited for you, and we'll see y'all on Sunday.
We'll see you all on Sunday. Become a patron. That's what I was going to say.
I forgot something.
Survivor 43 cast, people may forget about you immediately after this, but we will never forget about you. Don't forget that, okay? Open. Our arms are open anytime. But anyway, that's all I'm saying. I just got pen on my face, so I look like an absolute idiot.
Oh my God.
Eyebrow. How crazy. I thought I was bleeding. I was about to bug out. But become a patron, patreon.com/survivor specialist. We do our power rankings game for our $20 patrons. In addition, the $20 patrons are also going to be getting my retrospectives right after the episode, where I talk kind of about things that maybe I don't want to say on this podcast, such as cursing or insulting other people. And I try to keep that hidden from Alexa. And then John and McKenna are going to be doing an episode when we get into the season. That's going to be, I think we're probably gonna do that for $5 and $10 patrons, but you can also join the Discord if you come as little as a $1 patron. That's per month. It's not that big of an investment, and it helps us go a long way. It helps us pay for Audio Boom and all that fun stuff, which is always a good time. So make sure to become a patron, patreon.com/survivor specialist. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video with everybody that you could possibly think of. And just know that we cannot wait for season 44. And we're really excited. If this is your first season listening to us, welcome. This is my 15th, I believe, season. So wait, is it 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 15th season.
This is my 10th season. Holy crap.
Yeah. So
wow.
This is a milestone type season. 15th season doing this. And I could not be more excited. We're almost to the point, Alexa, where we've been doing this for half the show's life. At least I am. You're a little bit further behind, but damn.
I really need to reckon with that.
Yeah, I know. Now, if you were ever thinking about quitting, that should certainly put that in your head even more.
Okay. Have a wonderful night, everyone. We love you all.
Night, everybody.